Hi folks, this is All the Fruit, and today I'm in the city of Sanremo, one of the best places for finding exotic fruits and plants in all of Europe. This is the biggest palm tree collection in all of continental Europe, despite being at the same geographical latitude as southern Canada, in the foothills of the Alps. This is the Giardini Ormond, the gardens of one rich British guy who amassed the biggest palm collection in Europe. I've made a lot of videos about this park and about other parks in Sanremo. However, I noticed that during the previous years, yes, I tend to come here every year because this is such a great place for fruit and rare plant hunting. I noticed that I've only been in the lower part of the city. I mean, there are so many great parks here. Villa Ormond is just the biggest and most beautiful one, but there are many other great parks in the city which I have explored many times. However, I've never been to the upper slopes of the city, which is a big loss because Sanremo has dozens of historical gardens of old mansions, and many of them are nested above the city. So today I have a bit of time to go to the upper, well, not to the highest areas of the city, but to the areas above Parque Ormond and see what I can find there, and also what I can spot in the lower areas when looking from above. First, let's move east and then north above Parque Ormond. Here you see, coincidentally, two of the most important traditional cash crops of the area: the lemons and the olives. This is actually the northernmost place in the world where those were cultivated on a really huge scale as cash crops. Yes, they are more than northernmost place in the Italian lakes in the Alps, but this was the biggest lemon cultivation area in Europe and the northernmost olive cultivation area of the Mediterranean. And it's interesting, we have early July and most lemon trees are still hanging full of fruits. In the distance, the tasty queen palms with their edible dates. I came up here because I spotted a huge Peruvian apple cactus, but I'm not able to properly film it from here. And this huge plant here, right next to the Ficus elastica, is not a cactus, it's a spurge. The cactus is 20-30 meters in the back, about the size of this spurge. And the big difference is the spurge is toxic, while the cactus, the apple cactus, as the name suggests, is carrying super tasty apple-sized spineless cactus fruits. Here an old olive tree. As I said, those were a traditional cash crop here. Next to it, right in front of the domestic pine, also a traditional cash crop of the Mediterranean, is a young avocado tree. Those have become quite popular here, and why not? It's a very tasty fat, and it's basically a plant producing ready-made tasty butter. Beautiful mansions, hotels and apartment complexes everywhere. Look at those 10-meter high strelitzias, for example. This date palm here has been protected, probably against climbing rats. The stem, a big hole in the stem, has been repaired with concrete and then covered with this plastic. Maybe it's also to save the concrete from falling out, who knows. Nice area, but I kind of suspect my hunt will be more successful in the other direction, so I'm turning back. Maybe I'm turning back 10 meters before the most rare and most tasty and most exotic fruit tree in the whole Riviera, but my feeling tells me that the same road in the other direction is gonna be more fruitful. Look at that. What is this smallish shrub-like tree in front of the palms? It could be many things, but my guess is that this is a super tasty rose apple. However, I cannot be sure. It's too early for the fruits, but at this time I should be seeing the big myrtaceae flowers, and I'm not seeing them. So I'm not sure right now. Is it a rose apple? By the way, there are rose apples growing here in Sanremo, and I have harvested plentiful rose apple fruits here in Sanremo. It's so crazy because rose apple is a plant from Malaysia, not just from the tropics, from the equatorial tropics of Southeast Asia. And here it is growing at the same geographical latitude as southern Canada, and fruiting and producing, and not just being a collector's item, but it's becoming a real full-fledged fruit tree, a tree from the equator, growing at the same geographic, growing and producing and being commercially viable at the same geographical latitude, I cannot say it often enough, as southern Canada. Here, by the way, a plant from Mexico, which is also growing and producing perfectly here at the same geographical latitude as southern Canada. This is the normal prickly pear cactus, a major fruit tree in Mexico, and it has become, well, more or less a fruit shrub, a major fruit and veg shrub from Mexico and Central America. It has become a major fruit shrub here in Europe, but they never really, well, using the nopales as a vegetable never caught on, but the fruits are a very popular fruit around here. Unfortunately, I'm about a month too early for the season. As you can see, they're all unripe. And look at that. Somebody living in quite an ugly house here has made this house into a beautiful terrace garden. I totally approve of this. I'm in quite a hurry because my base camp right now is the Flower Museum or Floriseum, and they are closing at 12:30, so I have 30-40 minutes left to do some videos. Great base camp. Every time I come here they ask me what the fruits I managed to forage. They keep my backpack for me, they charge my power bank for me. If you ever come to Sanremo, well, if you ever come to the Riviera, definitely visit Sanremo, definitely visit Villa Ormond and the Floriseum or Flower Museum in Villa Ormond. It's totally worth it, even if you don't have batteries to charge. But it's a great museum for the flower cultivation on the Italian Riviera. Incredibly informative. Oh, look at that. A whole wall overgrown with Boston fern. Of course, this fern doesn't grow in Boston. It's a subtropical fern from Florida. Very popular and also pretty invasive throughout the subtropics of the world. But it was spread by florists from Boston. And here, a fern from southern Florida and the Caribbean, growing and thriving and even escaping from cultivation at the same geographical latitude as southern Canada. For now, the lower areas seem more productive than the upper areas, although some architectural solutions here are really unique. Look at that, somebody has had a plot I can jump over, but they managed to create some amazing thing here. Yeah, I like fruits, but I can also appreciate other things. Oh, this would be my room if this was my house. The olive trees here are older than the housing development. However, when the houses were built in the old olive plantations, they tried to save a couple trees because, in older times they were incredibly highly valued for their oil. Nowadays they are still highly valued for their oil, but also for their ornamental value and also for their historical and cultural value. So, every couple dozen meters, one olive tree has managed to survive the destruction of the old plantations. For now it seems, oh, by the way, here, a plant with an incredible climatic amplitude. It can grow in Scandinavia, the Baltics, Britain, and it can also grow in hot, dry Mediterranean forests. However, maybe it had been a little bit too dry for this one here. It's not thriving. Also, it seems the diversity and rareness of the plants and fruits here in the upper roads cannot compete with the ones just a couple dozen meters further down. Here you can see behind the palms a giant Moreton bay fig, a tree with a stem diameter of over 2 meters. Seems the really rare stuff is concentrated in the lower roads, unlike, for example, in Monton, where a lot of the rare stuff is also in the upper areas. Some strelitzia. I thought it would be a fruiting banana, but it's a strelitzia with very similar leaves. Sometimes you have to come a lot closer to check out what it is. Those are beautiful streets and beautiful parks, but I haven't seen many rare things. In Monton you can walk on similar streets high above the town, look down, look up and see more rare things. Here you will find the same amount of rare things down near the main road. Here in this case we are just above the new train station, and down there is a lot more diversity and variety, but still we have to check other places too. I spent most of the morning checking the easternmost end of this subtropical microclimatic, microclimatic, is it still microclimatic area if it's almost 100 miles across? 60, 70 miles across. Well, the easternmost parts, which were quite boring except for a private collection and a couple other details. An interesting ficus species which I cannot identify. It looks like Elastica, but it's a different species. Well, I wouldn't say I wasted my time there. I saw a couple interesting things, but I confirmed that the area around Sanremo is much more interesting. Now I'm checking the upper part of Sanremo, and maybe I'll confirm that the lower part is more interesting. Here, by the way, a very interesting traditional fruit tree of the area, the Atzerol thorn. It's a species of hawthorn. In September, October, those fruits will be the size of cherries, and they will taste like apples. Very valuable traditional fruit tree. Now it's a bit more of a collector's item. Here in this old olive grove, a couple of them seem to grow. Probably there's some relic of cultivation. Those seem to be self-sown, but probably a couple Atzerol trees were cultivated among the olive trees. Yeah, the Atzerol thorn is a nice discovery. It's only the second time I've seen it here on the Riviera, which is strange. No, maybe the third time, which is strange because it should be a bit more common. Here you can see the rich and fancy hotels, mansions and apartment complexes. The Riviera is incredibly, land here is incredibly expensive, especially near the center of Sanremo. Why do we care about this? We care for fruits. Well, for two reasons. Firstly, those people don't have a lot of space to plant fruits and other exotic plants here. Secondly, they have a lot of money to plant them. That means the few things they plant should be very well chosen, and so there is a good chance for rare stuff around here. But as I said once again, you saw the lower part, Villa Ormond, biggest palm collection in Europe, but up here it's mostly normal Mediterranean stuff with a twist. From time to time you find something interesting, but down there along the main road you find crazy stuff all the time. Here capers, the buds, and what many people don't know, the fruits are a very popular and very typical and traditional Mediterranean condiment slash food. Monstera deliciosa, giant delicious fruits. Behind it the peach tree, flanked by two mandarin trees. Of course, grapes, wine cultivation most probably originated in the Mediterranean, maybe in Egypt, maybe in some other country on the eastern Mediterranean. It's not totally clear, but grapes have been an important staple here for thousands of years. Grapes, and especially the wine, but also raisins and other grape products. And the very common tree around here, the bay leaf with its toxic foliage. It's toxic foliage, just like the toxic-ish buds of the capers, has become an important condiment. And here bougainvillea, a very popular ornamental in the Mediterranean. They say that those bracts of the leaves are edible and you can add them to salads and stuff. Well, they're edible. In a way, all other mature leaves are edible. Those bracts are leaves, not flowers. They are edible in the sense that they are not toxic and they are soft enough that you can chew them with some effort. They will not add a lot of nutrients or taste or other important stuff to your food, but they will make your salad or other food much more beautiful, and you don't have to be afraid about getting poisoned by the salad decoration. In the background, the hazelnut bush. Italians are great hazelnut cultivators. Nutella got invented in Italy. They used to be pretty dominant in the, well, Nutella is still dominant in the hazelnut trade. Nutella is buying about half of the world's hazelnut production, but nowadays the large-scale hazelnut production is coming mostly from Turkey, but Italy is also quite big in this. Oh, let's go and check out the bananas down there. More bananas up here. So banana cultivation in the area of Sanremo is not a, well, it's an isolated area of banana cultivation, but it's not a rare thing here. See, 2 clusters of bananas here, 1 up there in some garden. Let's check out the ones around the corner. Wait a moment, I'm not sure those are Orinoco bananas. Okay, we have to go 1 street further down. Yeah, the Italian coastlines are often incredibly steep. And here, look at it. This, yeah, it might look like a stair, so like some stairs to you. But see the ramps left and right. I mean, this is incredibly narrow. But the tiny traditional Italian trucks, the ape, they go up and down here. No problem. Right now they have become kind of rare, but 20 years ago you could still see them everywhere. They would totally, the Italian truck would totally scale this thing up and down, no problem. Loaded with products, usually old farmers, old smallholders still use them. One of the really iconic things of Italy. Are you also among the iconic things of Italy, cutie? Yeah, look at that, an official repair workshop in a teeny tiny garage. A dog on the street, on the narrow street, and still nobody's gonna run it over, everybody's gonna pay attention. And of course, a Catholic place with the Madonna. Well, Italy is a Catholic country with the Madonna and beautiful flowers in the background. That's Italy for you folks. Always check every source of fresh water in the Mediterranean, you'll find interesting things. Of course, figs, which are native to the Eastern Mediterranean, they grow here like crazy. Oh, look at the rat. In bright daylight, well, it's in the shade, but still. Capuchin cress in the background, it's edible. And down here, a feral little tomato. Well, if we walk further up, I'm sure we're gonna make a lot of great discoveries in this creek, but not today. Look at that. Oh, here is already the next workshop, this time in a slightly bigger garage. Well, even in the most narrow street there is room for big banana clusters. One in the foreground and another even taller one in the background. We're gonna check them both out. What are you? A really tall, lush plant. Northeast of Imperia, I've only these small, dried up, maybe even frozen in winter plants. Around here, Sanremo is full of big, lush ones. Sanremo is to be kind of the center of this banana cultivation. Yeah, I would say it's Orinoco slash Topocho slash what they call Comune di Sicilia here. Still have to check if those are completely identical names, or maybe there is a twist here. But look at that. The pseudostems are over 5 meters tall. The leaves add like more than 2 more meters. It's considerably higher than the street lights which are hanging here. And 2 other small banana clusters. If you thought that growing bananas as fruit crops in private gardens is a rare and isolated thing in this area. It is kind of isolated because the next areas you can do this are like hundreds of kilometers further south, but around here it's not rare at all. Another banana in a pot here, in front of a row of lemons, and above the lemons a row of kumquats. Reaching the next cluster, it's not as lush as the last one, but look at the size of those fruits. This is a good size. This is a good size banana bunch for topocho. Yeah, beautiful, wonderful and tasty. 3 days ago we were trying to steal a bunch of this size at the Sanremo casino. Come on, they are rich enough in the casino. I would never steal from a private owner who basically gets 1, maybe 2 bunches of those fruits a year and is often looking forward to them. Also, I've seen enough dried up and rotten bunches even in private gardens, but I would never steal those because I would feel pity for the people if they waited for months for their bananas to ripen and we still, by the way, over there, another. We might have found that those might have been, 7, 8, 9 different banana bunches in one street in 200 meters. Well, I would maybe steal 1 kumquat from a private garden or 1 cherry, I confess, if they are kind of stretching over the fence, but I would not steal a bunch of bananas from a private garden, but from the casino, I have no regrets there. I have no soul for casinos which make billions every year. However, while we were trying to steal this perfectly ripe bunch, we got jumped by the whole security of the casino, plus the cops, plus the big boss of the casino, and I had to run for the hills. Look at that, somebody is growing maracuya or passion fruit here. The season hasn't started yet. The fruits, some are already full size, but they are not ripe. Here the beautiful flowers. I would also have no problem if there was a ripe fruit here on the street, fallen on the street, I would totally take it. But right now, some of you might come here and start ripping off those fruits. Firstly, it's not nice towards the people, and secondly, with passion fruits, you should wait for them to fall to the ground on themselves. Otherwise, they are just not sweet enough. But at least, look, here we found a nice patch of passion fruits. Let's see, not a single ripe fruit on the ground here. The season hasn't started yet. A nice big patch of passion fruits grown here without any protection. I have to say it again, at the foothills of the Alps, at the same geographical latitude as southern Canada. If you are like from Toronto or Chicago or Detroit or so, imagine this thing is as far north as your cities, where you probably experience half a year of, debilitating cold, while half of the rich people of Europe are spending their winters in this area, including all the Russian and Ukrainian oligarchs escaping whatever is going on in their country. So, and look at that, another bunch of bananas. Yeah. For the last couple 100 meters we must have found more than 10 bunches now. They are very beautiful and ornamental, but of course, without the added benefit of the fruits, a lot less people would grow them. And mentioned there is another bunch of bananas over there, and another Peruvian apple cactus here. And next to the bananas there is an Arabian date. Arabian dates have also been a cash crop here for centuries. The leaves more than the fruits actually. The Catholic Church would buy the leaves. The fruits are still totally edible, but this has been quite a rainy spring, so the fruits have rotted. Here quite a small short banana bunches in front of this beautiful kumquat. I think they are still Orinoco, still the same varieties as all the others we saw. They are just not watered well enough. Bananas are of course among the most wasteful crops. They're incredible water and nutrient guzzlers. They need a lot of space. And then even if you produce a bunch, most of the bunch, the stems of the bunch and the peduncles of the bunch and the peel are not edible. Very wasteful crop, but still very popular crop. Oh, and wait, this big banana bunch is not the only one. Like 10-15 meters behind it, I don't know if you can see it, there is another one. And I think it's maybe only a matter of time before somebody around here starts. Oh, look, more! There are more bananas here. Look at that. Before somebody around here starts a large-scale commercial banana production, you know, also on the European continent, but many hundreds of kilometers further south, I found a huge banana plantation, several hectares, I would say, in an area where 20 years ago the topocho was quite popular, but there's only 1 or 2 instances of growing of the more commercially viable Cavendish. Are there more bananas over there? No. 20 years later I came to the same place. Topocho was still quite common, but Cavendish, much more easy to cultivate, was much more common. And then I found this giant plantation. I managed to find the people, the owners of this place, and they said, well, they just inherited it. They are hippies who don't work, but they like to walk around naked. So they basically thought we have this big plot of land, we have the water rights in an area where water is incredibly scarce. We don't want to have a commercial plantation. We just want to, here by the way, that's the reason I came here, another of this giant Peruvian apple cacti. Well, this one is not giant, but big enough. And believe it or not, 10 meters further, no, those are not bananas behind the gate, those are strelitzias, but wow, look at that. Here is an even bigger apple cactus. Now is flowering season, not many fruits. I saw only one full-size, apple-sized fruits around here. But yeah, the plants in itself are impressive. So what I wanted to say, those hippies inherited a big plot of land and they inherited the water rights in an area where people are starved for water, literally starved for water. Oh, look at that. There is a tiny Peruvian apple cactus fruit here. Well, let's munch on it. It might be tiny, but normally I would discard the rind, but with such a small fruit, you have to get your money's worth. Your money which you never paid for it. It's slimy, sour, and a little bit bitter. And there is actually exactly zero amount of the really edible part. I want my money back. This cactus was not a good purchase. Oh wait, I didn't pay any money. So what I wanted to say, those hippies on the Costa Tropical in southern Spain thought we want to walk around naked, but we don't want, it was underneath the town so everybody could see to their giant plot, but we don't want everybody to see our bits dangling around and our other bits jiggling around. And so they just asked all their neighbors. Most of the neighbors had 1 or 2 bunches of bananas, and if you look at this small topocho banana bunch there, if you don't cut off a lot of the pseudostems, they are producing a lot of pseudostems. So the neighbor said, yeah, take some of our pseudostems because we have to chop this stuff back every couple years, every couple months. It's not really worth the trouble. So they got hundreds of those pseudostems, 2 different types, the tall topocho and the short dwarf Cavendish. And they planted hundreds, probably thousands of them around their big plot and started watering them. I think all their farming neighbors must have been furious. Those hippies getting such a big plot of land, just inheriting it and inheriting water rights to water it. This water we need is for commercial fruit production, for commercial mango and chirimoya production. They are planting those wasteful bananas. Nobody wants them. Well, those hippies, they were working, but like in this type of working conditions where you don't have much work safety. So when Corona hit 4 years ago, during the lockdowns, they just didn't get employed anymore. So they were hanging out on their plot, dangling and jiggling and producing souvenirs and stuff which they couldn't sell because no tourists could come during the lockdowns. And meanwhile, their banana plants were growing, hundreds of them, thousands of them. And then they were producing. And then they tried to sell them and everybody said, it's Corona, our businesses are not going well. We have no money. So everybody started to barter. And those folks, they had a joker for bartering. They had bananas, locally produced, organically grown bananas. Literally hundreds of bunches every year, maybe 1,000 bunches every year. And so basically they noticed they don't need to continue working in insecure, low-paid, shitty jobs anymore. Now they are just giving away bananas and getting bread and milk and other things for those bananas. And a lot of other people around them have copied this. What I wanted to say, this happened almost by accident in southern Spain, that suddenly people started growing bananas like of commercially, non-commercially. And I'm sure if such a perfect storm comes together here, somebody having a big plot with enough water and just wanting to create a screen against speaking neighbors and planting hundreds of bananas, they will notice that those bananas are producing so well that basically they just need to go around with a machete, chop off the bunches and sell them, because people around here will pay prime price for locally produced bananas. Also, no, I'm not telling you where this banana plantation is in southern Spain. I promised the people I was allowed to film there, but no, I'm not even gonna tell you the exact region. I'm not even gonna tell you the town. You can drive along the Spanish coast. It's just, what, couple thousand kilometers, and try to find it. Here, by the way, I'm down at the main street where the most of the really biodiverse parks and gardens are. Yeah, this is one which is not open to the public. I think the bishop, the local bishop of Sanremo, is sitting here. So I've never been in there. But the next one, for example, is... here a priest is walking. The next one is open to the public. And right now I think I'll finish this video and start foraging in earnest for the tasty, giant, Monstera Deliciosa fruits around here. Actually, I'm not even sure if this is Monstera Deliciosa. The plants are huge, overgrowing a whole wall, but the leaves are pretty small, and the fruits are also quite small. So maybe I should check what this is. So yeah, this excursion into the foothills of Sanremo, just literally a couple dozen meters above here, was not really that successful, but you never know until you try. So I'll spend the next couple of days foraging in the more promising parts, like the lower areas of Sanremo. Yeah, but tell me, what are your methods of finding good areas with good rare plants for foraging, for observing, for enjoying? Apart from that, stay tuned for a lot more fruit videos from the beautiful and incredibly fruit-rich city of Sanremo. And of course, don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe.